Welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Leslie Demai. Today's conversation is very important. It's one that I've been thinking a lot about, and it has to do with how we're experiencing this accelerated rate of transformation. And so many of us are shedding really deep layers, and it's happening quickly. And sometimes it seems to happen suddenly. So, in our last video, I talked about how we're having these phases of building up, having a breakthrough, and then experiencing what feels like a breakdown. And it's happening quickly and rapidly in alliance with astrological changes and transitions as well. So, we are not being forced to experience this, but we are given an opportunity to release things within us that can span back to other lifetimes, that can be part of ancestral binds, traumas, curses, hexes. And we're being asked to release this, one, because we can. Whatever you are experiencing is because you are at a level of resonance that is able to bring forth what's coming out. So somewhere deep within you, you are wanting this to come up to the surface. Your logical mind does not perceive it this way, and your emotional state will tell you otherwise, because it's not easy to transmute this. And that's why today's video, it's all about alchemize or be controlled. And I thought a great way to put this together would be to talk about how we respond to triggers. We can start there. We can start to how we respond to triggers. And when you hear this word, what's something that comes up for you right off the bat? The way I thought I'd approach this would be to give examples of internal triggers and external triggers. I put together two graphs. The first one is how we have our default state of approaching and handling and maneuvering around triggers. And then we have the way of the alchemist. And because you are an alchemist does not make you already completely purified. The alchemist works day in and day out to filter out. What we're filtering out sometimes can be things within some of our energy fields, like debris that we've picked up recently, but some of what we are filtering out can be really deep within us. And so with the triggers, we have external triggers and we have internal triggers. External triggers are very relatable. I'm going to be giving you examples of pretty typical external triggers that you might encounter when you're out in the matrix reality. And then we're going to talk about internal triggers as well. These are going to be sudden, profound, personal emotions, states of being that come up even if you're by yourself, even when things seem to be going really good, all of a sudden, something starts rising to the surface. So these are the two types of triggers that exist. The external are more social. They have to do with interpersonal dynamics. They have to do with triggers that are sent to you because at whatever frequency you're resonating at, you attract that. Also, we have to understand what triggers are and what they're not. What a trigger is not a trauma, and a trigger is not a wound. What a trigger does is that it exposes both of those things. It exposes a wound, which then you can trace back into the original trauma. Let me just make sure I'm still recording. Okay. So let's start talking about why we want to alchemize in the first place. The reason why we need to alchemize is, like I said, if you don't alchemize, you are going to be controlled. You are going to accumulate more weight on you that you don't have to carry. You are at risk of having astral attachments reintegrated. So maybe if you worked through something and you pretty much cleared it out of your energy field, and then something triggers you, that bind can return and become strong and link you to an external energy, timeline, entity, anything of this sort. also soul contracts as well. It can link you back to these types of ties. And so we need to approach this very on a metaphysical level here, because it's not so much, oh, I just don't want to be annoyed by someone. I don't want someone to have control over me. This is the very, very foundation of how you become sovereign and of how you become emotionally, mentally, spiritually balanced, because we're doing the spiritual work. I have no doubt that if you're here, you're doing the spiritual work. And something that triggers can do as well, they can have you spiritually regress or truly transform. That's what they're there for. They are there for you to truly transform. And that's why I say we're at an accelerated rate of transformation, because we are entering a new age. What's going on astrologically is completely being manifested to you. And the fact that you're conscious to it is very symbolic. It's symbolic that you are a true soul. And in order to clear out what's been accumulated from the old world, in order to enter into a higher state of being, in order to create your own higher timeline, your own reality that you govern, you have to leave all of the old stuff behind. And we're going to see how working through this exposes the wounded ego child within you. A lot of what we're going to encounter and trace back as we alchemize is going to lead to childhood. Something that triggers also do is that they have a very unique way of pulling you back into old versions of yourself that you thought you've outgrown. So if you know what this feels like, if you're tired of navigating this and going through this loop that we go through, and I'll show it to you really soon now, the 5 Rs of regression, spiritual regression. Let's start to look at this again, not blaming anyone, not blaming any circumstance, not blaming any sort of scenario, injustice, none of this. We have to look at this like the alchemist. So let me pull up the graph, how we're going to turn emotional lead into gold. Okay, so this is the default mechanism, the loop of the wounded self. The 5 Rs of regression is what I call it. It's always going to revolve around the trigger. Number 1 is a reaction. Then there's a response. Then there's a replay. You replay it in your mind, and then you retell it. You automatically text, call, tell someone about it, then you re-solidify. So we're going to start with reaction, and I'm going to give you an example of a pretty standard, not super deep trigger. The trigger is you are at the store in a hurry and you're having to pick up a gift for someone before you go to their birthday. So you're in there last minute. The birthday party started in half an hour. You left the gift till last minute. Who's done that before? I've done that before. You've left the gift till last minute and you're in the store, gift in hand, and the line is long. It's a long line. And you're standing there already stressed out. And then all of a sudden, someone comes right up, a woman comes right up, stands in front of you, and cuts in line. So you let her know, you tap her on the shoulder, ma'am, the line's back there. And she looks at you and she says, I don't care. I'm standing here now. I'm in a hurry. Okay. So not the end of the world, right? But at that moment, you're like, excuse me? How do you react? You've just been triggered. So you've just been triggered. And this is when you're going to have the reaction. And you can't undo the initial reaction, but you can consciously choose everything that comes after. So with this formula, this is the looping formula here, but with both formulas, this one and the formula, the Way of the Alchemist formula I'm going to show you next, you have to have a reaction. We have to have some sort of formula to work with here. So your reaction, don't hold a grudge on yourself ever over the reaction, because the reaction is instantaneous. And what happens is it's going to affect your energy field first. There is a constriction versus expansion. Triggers are going to always cause a constriction of your energy. When you are high vibrational, when you are feeling good, when you are conscious, your energy field expands. But as soon as you get triggered, it constricts. So what happens is your energy field is hit first, triggering a contraction that sends a signal to the nervous system of a threat, resulting in an immediate physiological response like a spike in heart rate and shallow breath. This is your sympathetic nervous system kicking in, activating the fight or flight response before your conscious mind has time to access what's really happening. So you're going to feel it in your body. And so think about that. Think about how you would feel if someone did that to you. Now, I did mention that there is the fight or flight. So what type of personality do you have? One group is going to constrict and just be like, oh my gosh, right? And just hold it in. You're going to avoid a fight. Now, there might be another group of you that's not going to take it. And so that's what we're going to get into next with the response. Whatever your response is, whether you're gonna constrict your energy and your voice and your power, or you're going to fight back. You're going to say, I don't think so. Get in the back of the line. Maybe you'll push her. Maybe you'll shove her. You don't know, right? But whatever your response is, this is the second R. This is learned behavior. This is programming. This is conditioning. This is default defense mechanisms. So this is learned behavior, but also there is an intelligence within us that works and operates through this fight or flight. So think about it this way. You might think you might think, okay, I know how I'd respond. But what if, this is a trigger, right? What if instead of it being a woman that went in front of you, it was a 6'2" foot creepy looking man, 6'2" creepy looking man that cut in front of you? And what if you thought he had a weapon on him? Like, what if your instinct just said, I think he has a weapon? What would you do then? If you thought maybe your reaction with the woman would have been, you would have confronted her and maybe you would have been like, get in the back of the line aggressively back at her, and maybe had like this going back and forth thing going on, because we see that happen all the time. People arguing, fighting in stores. But what if she was a he? And what if you are a petite woman? What if you're not able to fight? What if you're intimidated by this person? What if this person's incredibly intimidating? You might respond differently. And this is how the fight or flight protects us in a way. But also, your response should be the same no matter who it is. It shouldn't fluctuate this way. Because if you are, what's happening is you're allowing an external force to indicate exactly how you're going to respond about something, which means you're being controlled. Something is controlling you to either act a certain way or not act a certain way. And that is not the mentality of a sovereign. So, as I said, you can't undo your initial reaction. That won't happen until we start figuring out how to work through these triggers. These responses that we have can be very impulsive, they can be intense, and they can be chaotic, which means your energy field has just completely become vulnerable. It has become extremely vulnerable, which means your emotional state is done, which means your mind is done. So all of this that I'm talking to you about, I want you to really look at how you engage triggers in your life. Next is the replay. Ooh, this is a big one. So in this contracted state, your consciousness collapses into lower frequencies: fear, anger, blame, shame. You become hyper-focused on the perceived threat, locking you into an illusion of separation. This is how a single trigger left unchecked can hijack your entire energetic system and pull you out of alignment with your soul's truth. Basically, the replay is going to Completely lower your consciousness, because in the replay is where we find the ultimate field of duality. This is where blame comes in and right and wrong comes in. This is where injustice comes in. This is where high morals come in. This is why we say, why me? This is the beginner's mind. All of this replaying of what happened, of this woman cutting you off, is now going to spiral into something massive. People usually do not associate what they're experiencing, if they're at this point, with anything that's going on with them or trying to expose itself to them from the subconscious depths of themselves. So whatever's coming up is actually something else. It's a learned response from something else. It's not because of that woman. In fact, she stepped in front of you. If you think about it, someone stepped in front of you, even though there is already someone else in front of you, and even though you're in front of someone else too. So in all reality, whatever happened was learned conditioning. Like, there's someone behind you in line, and this woman's doing the same thing you're doing to someone behind you. But the fact that she stepped in at a certain time that didn't sync up with you, and the fact that you learned in school that cutting in line is not the right thing to do, don't cut in line, you've now coined this as injustice. How dare you cut in line in front of me? So you see how this is actually, it's really interesting to really take a look at these triggers, because there's so many different types of triggers, and we're starting with a pretty superficial one, and I'd love to get into some deeper ones too. That's where it gets incredibly fascinating, because we get to talk about it as the observer, not as the experiencer. And talking about it as the observer gives us so much power to begin to learn this game that's being played by the wounded ego child, this game that's being played by the matrix programming that we've accumulated. And so this is fascinating. So this is the realm of duality. You're going to keep replaying what happened to you. You're going to sensationalize it. You're going to make it, you're going to glorify it in a way, because you're highlighting it in your mind over and over and over. You're giving it all of your energy. So this is incredibly, the replaying of this is a huge cause of energy siphoning. This is going to drain you. And the crazy thing is I like to use the concept of a balloon. And the balloon can have a tiny little hole in it. And let's say we cover up that hole with some tape. And it does a good job of preventing the air from coming out. But anytime you think of this, it's like you're pulling off that piece of tape and you're letting your energy just escape from you. This is what's happening. Our thought power, mental power creates an incredible amount of energy as well. And the fact that you're feeling emotional sensations attached to it, and the fact that your programming of duality is kicking in hyper mode, completely loses any sort of focus on truth. You're now playing in a world of illusions. You are now being manipulated in the world of Maya. There is no way having this replaying going on, you're going to be anywhere focused on entering your own high vibrational new reality. There's no way. There's no space for that. This is taking over. And so that's why the replaying is where people get really, really lost. Now the retelling. So the replay, something I want to add really quickly. This is where we're planting the seeds of victim mentality. We are planting seeds of victim consciousness. That's one of the lowest vibrational states to be in. And so when we retell this story from the perspective that we've already put together, this is where these seeds can begin to actually grow. Because we are looking, this is and tell me that you cannot tell me this is not the wounded ego child coming in here, because when we retell, why do we retell? Why do we text our friends? Why do we call someone? Why would we turn around to the other people in line and say, look what's happening? Because we're looking for external validation. We want someone to tell us I'm here to support you. I totally see it. You're right. I can't believe you've been victimized this way. That's basically what they're telling you, is that you are a victim. How dare someone else do this? And this is where the ego is extremely comfortable. Um, yeah, this is where the ego thrives. This is where it's completely taken over at this point. And when I tell you, when we get into what the alchemist would do, this would be for sure the number one no. Do not do it. And it's crazy because yeah, it's crazy because we're encouraged to retell. Think about how people would respond. Think about how people you know would respond if you told them that this evil woman just cut in front of you and made you feel threatened, or maybe you ended up getting in a fight and you can't believe it, and people are going to completely massage your ego and embrace your wounded ego child, causing that wounded ego child to feel that it is wounded. Instead of actually being seen for what it is, it's like feeding someone cupcakes that's morbidly obese and trying to lose weight. And instead of figuring out what's really going on, you're just feeding them cupcakes. So this is what it's doing. It's fattening up the ego, and it's making the wounded ego child even more wounded. And we don't see that because we're still trapped with the replaying, and now they're retelling, and now we're sharing back and forth. And this conversation is extremely toxic and it's extremely energy draining. So if you know people that do this quite often, stay away. That's all I can say, because you might not always be the one doing it, but if you know people that constantly do it to you, they're getting energy from you. This is energy vampirism as well. This is an escape route. You are trying to get your energy back that you expended out during the reaction and the response and the replay, and you're trying to get some energy back by retelling someone so that they could feed it to you. And so this is planting the seeds of victim consciousness and seeing them start to sprout. It's toxic, and depending on what the trigger was, it could have been something really big. People will retell their story over and over and over, and they have fallen deep in the Maya, now believing that they are this story caused by this trigger. They have no idea what's the root cause of it, and they probably never will. And so I have done this in my life so many times until you realize, oh my gosh, I'm telling the same story to different people. And maybe this happened 6 months ago and it's still coming up. So what's really happening here? Re-solidify. Okay, so we've had the reaction, the response. We've replayed it, we've retold it, and now we've re-solidified. Anchoring back into the dream. In a world governed by Maya, the illusion of separation and form, re-solidifying is the ego's way of anchoring you back into the dream. Bypassing the root cause of what triggered you, not even bringing it to your awareness. In the context of entering the new age, a time of rapid awakening and energetic acceleration, re-solidifying keeps you looping in outdated karmic patterns. It resists the quantum shift into soul-aligned living by clinging into the density of the past. While the soul seeks expansion, the ego finds safety in the known. The trap is staying, quote, real in a reality that was never real to begin with. You will magnetize others who are not awakened. Careful of that. Be careful of who you're attracting. If we are going to enter the new age, because we are transitioning out of the Kali Yuga. We are entering the age of Aquarius. There is so much to look forward to, but you cannot take these patterns and ways of operating with you to the new age. So what can we do?